The Martians. Chapter 13. Did you write a suicide note at Ars 3? Commander Lewis demanded. What? No, of course not. Oh. So, the wind just piled up rocks in Morse code then? Huh. No, it's not a suicide note. Geez, where did you get that idea? Mark asked. Well, that's apparently what half the world thinks it is, a suicide note, from a crazy man no less, and the other half hasn't heard about it yet as it is still night time for them. What the fuck were you thinking? What makes you think it's a suicide note? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. I know I will die on Mars, but I am doing something important that I love. I've seen things others can only dream of. Lewis, Rick, Chris, Beth, Alex, not their fault. Best crew ever, best friends ever. I have flown in great company that I love and admire. Mom, Dad, I miss you. Best parents ever. Mindy, Anna, Dana, we came in peace. We came for all mankind. We were proud to represent you. Does that sound like a suicide note to you, Mark? Because it does to everyone else. What the fuck were you thinking? Well, when you read it like that, geez, that is depressing. But I did that over like a month and a half. I wrote it a word or two at a time. I just had some stuff to say in case, you know, and I thought it might be cool for everyone's names to be there forever. And why are you bringing this up now? What do you mean, why am I bringing this up now? Missy stared as Dana came up the stairs and into the com as she, and everyone else, had overheard the gist of the conversation. Privacy didn't really exist in a space capsule, especially when the co was pissed, and if Mark had entertained suicidal thoughts, Dana's job just became far more intense. I mean, I did that months ago, while I was making water in Rover 2. I needed something to do while it was, you know, exploding. That's what you were doing instead of helping me with the samples. No, that's what I was doing while I was helping you with samples. I just piled up rocks as I went along getting samples. Geez, if you were going to chew me out over it, why wait until today? Mark, no one knew about it until today. NASA never noticed it. A girl doing her science fair project figured it out from the public photos. A local TV affiliate covered her science fair as a human interest story, and now every bit of media in America is crawling up NASA's ass to find out about it. Annie Montrose is contacting you in a few minutes along with Irene the Shrink to figure out what to do about it and how suicidal you are. Do you have any idea how big of a clusterfuck this is? Oh. Just now. You mean they didn't see it? Wow. What the hell were they paying attention to? How did you not notice? It's not like I was hiding anything. It's piles of rocks, directly under a dozen satellite paths, and I was always in sight of you. Total props to the girl though, someone should congratulate her, Mark replied. Well, she won the fucking science fair, Watney, and you got egg all over NASA's face. Great job. Way to go. Oh, and I was probably busy doing my fucking job. Now sit down here and talk to Annie and Irene. Straighten this out, Watney. I mean it. Lewis commanded. And don't think I'm not pissed that you used my last name that I got from my asshat husband and everybody else's first. That's for another time. Yeah, sure. And I used your last name because it would have taken a metric shit ton of rocks to spell Commander Lewis, and I wasn't about to call you Missy and make NASA ask why I was calling you Missy. Oh, and before you ask why I didn't use everyone else's last name, it's because it would have taken me a week to haul 2 more metric shit tons of rocks to spell Martinez and Johansson. Hey, did they find the ones I left on the way over here? Oh dear God, Watney, what do they say? Lewis asked as she rubbed her temples. Fuck Mars, and I'm still on Mars. Damn it to hell, and Mars sucks. And did you put anything about us or me? Lewis stared. No, nothing like that. I did refer to you a couple times though. Watney, Lewis said, and Dana could have sworn she saw steam coming out her ears. Just that you were a great commander. I said, Lewis, best com ever. That was the day the poop bucket split and you made me empty it. I had a bit more time than usual. I was feeling sarcastic, I guess. Oh, okay, well that's sarcasm. Missy nearly shouted. And Lewis is a backseat driver and disco sucks. Disco sucks. You wrote that forever on the face of Mars. Not something meaningful, not change is the only constant, or worry is interest on a debt not owed, or something about the penalty for not adapting. No, you took the time to haul a bunch of rocks just to say disco sucks. Yeah, I guess I did. That makes it sound really OCD though. I was just trying to be funny. I figured sitcom had picked up on all that a long time ago. Geez. What were they looking at? They were probably busy making sure you didn't blow us up. Now you're the engineer, fix this. Okay, so Mark stammered just as the message from Annie and Irene came in. Donna, you might be needed to convince Houston that Mark isn't crazy. So, lie to them. Donna smirked, but Missy wasn't in the mood for humor. Whatever it takes. Irene and Annie's message was a good 5 minutes long and consisted of equal parts Irene asking Mark, are you okay, tell me how you feel, what were you feeling, and Annie asking, what were you thinking, have you lost your damn mind? By the end of it, a basic strategy for a reply was developed. No, I haven't lost my mind. I wrote that stuff over a month or two, even longer for some parts of it, and yeah, at one point I thought I would die on Mars. So did everyone else. And I still might. But once a relief plan was developed, really, I just wanted to give something back to the crews and immortalize them and my parents. I thought they deserved it. How is it no one noticed until now? Oh, and hey. The girl that found it. Full marks to her. What a bright kid, somebody should recruit her for NASA. Put her in sitcom. Dr. Abernathy is taking good care of all of us, and the mood around here is much brighter than it was at Ars 3 when we thought we were going to die. Donna took over and expressed much the same, adding that Mark was neither suicidal or crazy, just a guy with a dark sense of humor and very little filter. They were working on skills to cope with the stress, and Mark was, well, have you ever met Mark Watney? She asked. Between the four, a plan was developed over the next hour and a half's 3 messages, and an hour or so later Mark received a script to read on camera for the easier half of his part. For the other half, Mindy finally got her EVA and became Mars number 21. Everyone was needed to pitch in, and it took a couple hours of work. To a person, all were irritated at Mark for the extra work, but in the end not so much, as they giggled at the whimsy of it all. Annie made a brief statement to the press saying that NASA was aware of the situation and that medical staff both on Victoria 1 and in Houston were convinced Dr. Watney was mentally stable and was never suicidal, and pointed out that at the time some of the message was created, most of the people on 2 planets assumed he would die on Mars. A longer press conference, which would include a promised message from Dr. Watney, would be held the next day. Then the travel office was contacted to arrange 3 tickets from Honolulu to Houston. Annie could have diffused the situation completely, but it might not have stayed dead, and she didn't want to diffuse, she wanted to kill it. Plus, it was keeping the Ars 3/Victoria I story on the front pages for another day, and there is no such thing as bad publicity. The next afternoon she greeted a full press room. Good afternoon and thank you for coming. Beside me today is Dr. Irene Shields, the staff psychologist assigned to Ars 3 and Victoria I, and we will take questions in a few minutes. In brief, as we stated yesterday, Dr. Watney is attended to by Dr. Donna Abernathy and has been interviewed at length by Dr. Shields. He is in no danger mental health-wise, and both are convinced that he is not now, nor has he ever been suicidal as many in the press have suggested. Dr. Watney has told us that in the first days of he and Commander Lewis being stranded he did, like almost everyone else, think he would not survive. His message, read from that perspective, is one of wishing to say his goodbyes in a permanent form, and recognizing those close to him. He did this over an extended period, and the message clearly changes in tenor as plans for relief developed. The ones he made on the overland trip to Ars 4 reflect what many of you know to be his rather unique sense of humor. Dr. Watney is fit mentally and physically and is continuing his work at the Ars 4 site. Dr. Watney has told us that he continued to post his messages and did so on the assumption that NASA had noticed them and had never told him to stop. Fact is, we didn't notice them. It's not the sort of thing we look for. Obviously, this was an oversight and one we have corrected. The photos have been public for some time in keeping with NASA's public status, and I note that no one in the press noticed the messages either. The messages were first noticed by a young scientist working on a science fair project, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you today, Kalani Akina, who as I understand it likes to be called KK and who is here with her parents today. Annie said as she held an open hand towards the trio in the front row. KK's parents stood on cue, and after a moment KK surrendered to standing as well, and even meekly waving to the gathered media. KK, I understand you are quite shy, and I don't wish to put you on the spot, but Dr. Watney has sent us a video and candidly it is for the most part directed to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mark Watney, Annie concluded as she turned to face the large screen behind her, and the lights dimmed. Mark's face filled the screen and he began. Victoria I. Watney, to Houston. Hey folks, sorry for the scare, that wasn't my intent. I just wanted to memorialize some things and people, and, well, punctuation is difficult when you are stacking rocks. I'm fine and in great company. I won't say we are having a good time as it is a lot of work, but it is important what we are doing, and we wouldn't trade it for anything. We truly have seen things others can only imagine. Mark said as his face filled the screen. Annie tells me we have a special guest. KK, this is for you. When they told us you were the first to figure out our messages, we thought two things. First, what a smart and observant person you are going to go far, and second, Commander Mindy Park of Victoria I points out that her friends in SATCOM should have caught that sooner. Truthfully, we thought they did. Oops, sorry guys. Mark grinned. Finally, KK, you are our guest today. Annie is going to make sure you get a docent to show you and your parents around the Johnson Space Center, and when we get back, I want to fly you guys out to the Kennedy Space Center for our return celebration. We will tour it too. I was in isolation the last time I was there, so we will discover it together with your family. I gotta tell ya KK, we are all looking forward to meeting you guys, and when I say we I mean all of us. Mark said as the camera zoomed back to show him seated along with his crewmates. Hi KK. We can't wait to meet you. Mindy smiled and waved to the camera. We have to sign off now, but KK, the next thing you will see on the screen is an overview of the Ars 4 site taken this morning your time. It would not normally be published for 24 hours, but we got the folks in Houston to speed things up for you. Before you start your tour, the press there may need your help analyzing it. Victoria I. Ars 3 ground, actual, out. Missy said in her best command voice, and the video cut out, to be replaced with a photo of the landing site. It took a few moments for KK, who really hated being the center of attention, to scan it, gasp, and start to tear up. Her teenage angst was replaced almost instantly with determination to be her best both academically and physically. The crew had worked together for hours to spell out with rocks, in Morse, Kalani KK Akina ground crew Victoria I and future astronaut. They had decided to not abbreviate anything but skipped punctuation for the sake of their aching backs. Kalani Akina's name would be in stone, forever, on Mars. A large framed print of the photo was presented to KK by Annie, who carried it over to her. KK couldn't wait for her science teacher to see that shit.